Man sees God as cosmic spirit pervading everything. Then, with the subtleties of mind through his thought, he does not hesitate to review the fundamentals that have placed him where he is and made him that which he is. Thus he is again one with his sources. He knows that this source is the ever-silent side of his God-mind, linked consciously in thought and amalgamated with infinite mind. This new race understands that through sun and shadow, without the bitterness, the soul's true quest for love and true peace is the truth of God and man. This race does not hesitate to strip the swaddling clothes of delusion from the whole human race. The gaunt specter which for ages has bound the feet of the weak and doubting ego man, through his own ignorance, will be completely erased. He finds he has erased his every limitation through his true selfhood, completely arisen. He has raised himself from man, to God-man, to God. Next chapter. After a short period of rest, as the first rays of the sun came over the distant horizon, the Muni stood up and said, "With me are those who have learned many things which the Father sees for humanity. They see with the comprehension of that which penetrates spirit. Thus the whole wide world comes under their vision. They see that which humanity feels. Thus they are able to assist humanity in fulfilling its desires. They also hear thousands of sounds, usually inaudible, like the song of the hummingbird, the sounds made by the newly hatched robin, the notes of the field cricket, some of which sing at 15,000 vibrations a second, and many other musical sounds far above the range of the human ear. They are also able to feel, control, and send out inaudible sounds that are capable of producing types of emotional feelings such as love, peace, harmony, and perfection that benefit the whole world. The vibrations of the feelings of abundance and great joy can also be amplified and sent out by them, so that they surround and interpenetrate all humanity, to such an extent that, if he will, each unit of the human family may have them. When this condition is acknowledged to exist, each human unit cooperates by amplifying and sending out these vibrations. Then the very thing that humanity is in need of is crystallized into form around or among its units or people. Their desires are accomplished. When the necessary vibrations are set into activity, the units of humanity cannot escape the actual presence of these. In this way, all of humanity's perfect desires are crystallized into actual form. The vast sea of God's creative, unlimited, moving space is crystal clear. Yet it is completely full of vibrating, emanating energy. And that emanating energy is known as aqueous substance, in which all substance or elements are in soluble form or suspended in harmonious relation, ready to respond to the call of the vibratory rate that will allow them to coalesce into form. When the proper vibratory influence is set up through the thoughts of the human unit cooperating with the whole, the elements, having no other course, rush in and fill the mold set by the desire. This is absolute law, and none can stay its true course. Listen. An organ is playing in very low bass notes. Now let us first lower these notes so that they are no longer audible to us. The feeling or emotion of the sound we have experienced still lingers, does it not? The vibration is going on just the same, although it is inaudible. Now let us carry these notes up and up through the scale until they are so high that they are again inaudible. The feeling or emotion still lingers. The higher vibration is going on just the same. We know that neither of the influences ever ceases, although out of range of our physical ear. This is what we designate as spirit. When the physical loses control, spirit takes control. And that control is much more definite, as it has a much wider range of vibration than the mere physical, and is much more susceptible to the control of thought influences or vibrations, since thought is much closer allied to and coordinated with spirit. The physical is limited to the body and does not extend away or away from it. The physical is limited entirely to the actions of the body, but not to its reactions. When it comes to body reactions, we are spirit, if we define it as spirit. Thus you can see how the physical body is limited. Spirit not only penetrates every atom of the so-called physical, it also interpenetrates the minutest part of all substance, whether it be solid or gaseous. In fact, it is the force in which the mold is wrought that substance takes its various patterns from. In no other way can substance take its various forms. Man is the only projector and coordinator of these various patterns that substance assumes. Allow me to digress for a brief moment of explanation. You see the great central sun of our universe blazing forth in all its magnificent splendor. And as the horizon gradually withdraws and exposes to our view a new day, a new epoch, a new Easter is born. This so-called universe of ours that rotates around that central sun is but one of 91 such universes that rotate around a central sun. This sun is 91,000 times larger than the whole or combined mass of all the 91 universes. This central sun is so colossal that each of the 91 universes rotating around it in perfect order and sequence is as small in comparison as the minute particles that spin around the central sun or nucleus of an atom, as you call it. It takes this universe over 26,800 years to accomplish one turn of its orbit around this great central sun. It moves in exact order with one complete procession of Polaris, or the North Star. Do you doubt there is a great positive divine power controlling all? Let us return to our observations. Look closely. A picture is forming, and on the film is the white globular disk of the sun. A spot of red is forming on the white disk. Now look more closely, and you will see that a tiny point of pure white light has flashed out from the red disk. This is not a beam of light, it is a running point of pure light, the spark of life, emitted and included with that which is to be born. It is but a tiny point of light to you, yet it is huge to those who can view it at close range. How strange it seems to you, in a very short space of time, you will be looking through an instrument that assists your eyes to see all these things. This will also reveal to humanity many more wonders. For millions of ages, the great central sun has drawn to itself the throbbing, pulsating, yet harmonious emanations of energy, which must give forth of itself or burst asunder. observed that a great nebulous gaseous mass has burst forth from the sun. You have observed in pictures the birth of the planet Neptune, which is now a great mass of microcosmic particles or atoms that have been ejected from the parent sun with great force and power. While it is nebulous and indistinct, the point of light that appeared before the final expulsion took place in the central sun, that has the power to attract to itself and hold together even the minutest particles, as well as those of larger dimensions, that have been given forth from the parent sun. Your first thought is that an explosion has taken place and that particles of the sun have been shot into space. Stop a moment and observe what has really happened. Why do the particles and gases cling close together and form a definite circular pattern? It is because of the intelligent law back of and guiding it, in perfect order and harmony. This is proof that it is no accident, but is in perfect order and sequence, governed by law that never fails. This point of light or central nucleus is the central spark or sun, the Christ of humanity, around which all humanity revolves. This is determined spirit force. This law prevails throughout all units of humanity. The central spark is a point of pure white light, the Christ which penetrated the first cell. Then it expands, divides, and gives off that light to another cell, which is born of its division, but held together by a coexisting and cohesive force, which is called love. These particles are nourished and held together just as a mother holds and nourishes the child. It is in reality a child of the sun, which contains within itself the nucleus of central sun. That nucleus is the image and likeness of the parent that has just given it forth. As soon as it has come forth from the parent, this central sun has the same power to draw to itself, consolidate, and hold the vibrant emanating energy that surrounds it, and which is necessary for its life and growth. It does finally consolidate, and the most extended orbit of our universe. When Neptune first came forth and the central sun began to draw energy to itself, mostly from its parent the sun, the atom began to consolidate into its form. That is, it began to shape itself into the pattern that was projected for it before its birth. It occupied what is known as the cradle orbit, the orbit within the orbit which Mercury occupies today. In this orbit, the child is able to draw its substance from the parent more successfully, as it is much nearer to the parent. As it drew substance from its parent, it began to consolidate into form. Instead of remaining mere gaseous vapors in the nebulous state, the chemical elements began to segregate and consolidate. The resultant solids from chemical action began to consolidate, and rock structure began to form under intense heat and pressure. As this semi-liquid substance became more consolidated, it began to cool on the surface, and a crust formed. This crust became heavier and more dense, both by the cooling process and by the assimilation of particles upon and added them to the outside of the crust, became strong enough to hold the revolving mass together. This mass became the primary rock structure of the planet, with a semi-liquid molten mass at its center. Then, from the resultant gases and vapor, water began to appear as the product of the union of these gases. The nebula then became worthy of the name planet. It was now fast evolving toward a condition where it could sustain life, yet it must go on for some eons of time, adding to its structure particle by particle from the outside. The continued cooling of the central mass brought it nearer and nearer to perfection, before its atmospheric chemical conditions and surface were ready to bring forth life organisms and maintain those life organisms.